why there is such a lot of people changing their opinions about the Grammys. I'm pretty sure you guys have noticed this over the last couple of what I'll call years or so, because this is not something that just happened, right? You more and more artists these days are coming out dismissing the Grammys, saying they're not important, dismissing what once was a award show that was highly coveted by everyone, you know, whether it's Kanye West peeing on his Grammys in an Instagram video or Twitter video, whether it's, you know, Drake winning an award at the Grammys and while he was receiving the award, basically saying, "Yo, this doesn't mean anything to me," you know. The list goes on, guys. Like, honestly, the list goes on. But I want to talk to you. I want to have a conversation with you about this, Q, because I'm pretty sure you guys have been feeling some type of way about it as well. What do you think about, like, you know, what the Grammys have meant to, you know, the people, and how more and more artists just continue to come out and reject the Grammys? By the way, The Weeknd is another one. But go ahead, man. What you think?
I love it and I hate it. I love it and I hate it. First and foremost, like, everything in your life is in your life for a particular reason. The Grammys are not something that you should, in my opinion, is not something that you should let define you. But at a certain point, I think that's what was happening. If you go on TV and you hear a musician, they start off by saying Grammy award winning artist, Grammy nominated artist. It's kind of a way to define how great an artist is. Well, in my opinion, if music is all subjective, who is a body of people to tell the world that this is the best in the world? Music is subjective. We all should be able to pick and choose who we feel is the best. That's from base to base, person to person opinion. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, I appreciate what the Grammys means because it is a form of acknowledgement. That's how we should look at the Grammys. The Grammys should not be looked at as something that you should strive for, and if you don't get it, you suck. It's a form of acknowledgement that there's a group of people that find your work to be good, and not everybody's going to get acknowledged. That's just life. And I just don't think that it's something that people should really be up in arms about, in my opinion. But we're here. The Grammys has transformed to this. Part of it is our fault. Part of it is the artist's fault. But I would say I do appreciate people trying to change the narrative and what a Grammy means, because now it becomes that, you know, when you're a kid, that participation points, a participation award where nobody should feel like a loser because their music wasn't picked by a Grammy committee. Nobody should feel like a loser. And so people calling out the Grammys and demeaning it is good, because nobody gets called a loser in any type of way. But I do think it's still necessary in today's world, man. For real, for real. I know I said a whole bunch of nothing, but
yeah, I'm not, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I just don't really know about where you're going with it. Here's how I feel, man. Like, I'm gonna be totally honest with you, man, because
hey, I'm high.
Hey,
I just
high on life, or high on substances.
I just licked my iPad back.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're not gonna edit that part out. You know, we're just gonna let people think you're really high. But no, seriously though, for real, like, I just feel like what the Grammys have meant to artists for the longest is, you know, it's positive, right? Like, I think the concept of the Grammys is dope, right? Here's a body of people who supposedly are supposed to be the highest decorated, the most decorated people who have the credibility to determine who is the best artist in a particular category. Like, I like the concept. And more importantly, it's important to have committees like that where everyone can kind of come to a consensus and say, these are this is a group of people, this is the award show that everybody looks at as the highest of the high. So if you get recognized, if you win, this is who, you know, we should look at and say, that's dope, man. Like, oh my God, you were nominated. Whoa, it's cool. However, I think what the Grammys have gotten wrong over the years is their tone deafness. You know, it's the really not understanding who is out here pushing the culture. And listen, if we're being totally honest, there's a ton of genres that I just actually just don't care about. Like, I'll be real with you guys. Like, I'm not sitting here checking for who won the top country awards at the Grammys. Like, I don't care. Like, that's just me personally. I don't necessarily care. So I can't speak on how other genres are necessarily being underrepresented or, you know, not necessarily having the right representation and who is being recognized. I firmly just care about hip hop and R&B and pop. I mean, when it comes to the Grammy Awards, I'm just be real with y'all. So with that in mind, they have shown recently, and I'll say over the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, that they just don't understand what's happening. They just don't. You know, they've excluded certain artists from certain categories. They have allowed certain artists to win Grammys over the others. We've talked about a lot of them. The Macklemore winning over Kendrick in 2014. That's well documented. We've talked about that a lot. If we fast forward to this year, The Weeknd, right? He was not nominated for a Grammy, which is the craziest thing ever because The Weeknd's album, After Hours, was and still is a top selling album of 2020. So how in God's name could you not recognize someone whose album is clearly still resonating with people, right? And see, that's the tough part, right? It's because there is another award show called the the Billboard Awards, or the American Music Awards, where they recognize people for how their songs and albums perform, versus the Grammys, who we would expect them to be a little bit more cultured and just in tune with the craft of music, right? So it's a difference between acknowledging somebody whose art who sells the most versus who makes the best music. To me, those are two different conversations, right? Someone who makes the best music isn't always the person who sells the most. Unfortunately, those two are not the same. I just feel like right now we're at a point in award ceremonies where the idea of the Grammys is being challenged, and I like it, to be honest with you. However, I do see the value of the Grammys, because I'll take you to what Roddy Ricch just said, right? He trashed what Kanye West did recently. I'm sorry, what he did a year ago or so when he pissed in his Grammy cup in the damn toilet bowl. And Roddy Ricch came out and said, yo, y'all are basically shitting on the accomplishments of me being nominated for mad Grammys. Like, what's that about? That's fucked up. There's still some of us out here who care about the Grammys. I completely understand where Roddy Ricch is coming from. Completely understand. And I'm here for it, to be honest with you. I just feel like you gotta pick a side at this point. You know, it's kind of up to every artist to kind of pick a side. You either have to be someone who gives a fuck about the Grammys, or you're somebody who doesn't give a fuck. You really can't be in the middle at this point.
Well, I think that's the position
that artists are being placed in. You have to pick a side now. You can't just be, I kind of care about it, but not really.
I mean, in my stupid diatribe about the Grammys, I said a point that I think people need to hear again. Like, in this day and age, where millennials are running stuff, where millennials who like to work from home, you got to be very gentle with how you approach certain things, because us as millennials, we complain a lot. I think the Grammys should no longer call it an award show. They should call it an acknowledgement, like I said. because what the Grammys symbolizes to a lot of these artists, especially in the hip hop community, is a competition. They're trying to figure out who's the best of the best. I don't think the Grammys should it should no longer be a competition. It should just be, hey, the Grammy committee wants to acknowledge these 4 or 5 albums. That's what to me it should be. If you do that, there'll be a lot less uproar, in my opinion. Do like BET honors. You know how they have BET honors? They just say Michael Jackson. BET wants to honor Michael Jackson. Like do something where it's like we want to honor these 4 or 5 albums that we thought were cool.
Yeah, but the problem with that, is not only even let's assume they did that, right? Let's assume that. On the flip side, what still happens till this day is people are essentially magnifying and enhancing their profile by saying I'm Grammy nominated. I'm Grammy award winning. Your rate goes up as an artist. Your business now becomes much stronger. You can now become more marketable. You can now garner more attention. It's still, that to me is never going to be, I don't think that's ever going to go away, because until that stops, nobody can do what you're proposing, because people are still it won't happen, because people are still acknowledging the Grammys as that end all be all, and people's rates literally go up.
Well,
as a result of being a Grammy nominated / winning artist.
I'm speaking on behalf of what the Grammys should do, not necessarily the impact of what they did on the artist. If the Grammys don't want the backlash, because it's going to continue, it's going to get worse every year. They don't want the backlash. They just need to change their wording a little bit, in my opinion. They need to, I think personally, what would be dope? I think they should have like maybe an hour show talking about how they got to the conclusion of why they picked these 4 or 5 albums.
Brother,
what I'm saying?
Brother, do you know that they should do that? They're not cool enough to do that though. They're not MTV.
Have a round table discussion.
Remember MTV did a top 5 rap.
Yeah, top 5. Yeah.
Remember they did like the bracket style, and they would show the people debating at the table. That's dope to me. Yeah,
that's the only problem here. The reason people are such in an uproar is because they didn't even explain why. Why is D Smoke's album on there? How can you explain it? They're not explaining. They're just giving you 4 or 5 albums and saying like, "Hey, these is what we think is great." Can you explain it, please?
The arrogance of a committee like the Grammys. At this point, they're in what, the 100th year or damn near. They've gone so long without explaining themselves to the public that you think they want to explain themselves now. That's the arrogance of the Grammy committee, unfortunately.
Obviously, but at the same time, I actually don't have a problem with the Grammys at all. This is life. Can we stop? Are we complaining about award shows now? This is life. You don't win everything. At the end of the day, I'm not expecting to win everything. Like, I'm not expecting this podcast to win best podcast ever, even though I think it is. Like, it is what it is. Like, I get it. You can be mad that you weren't nominated, but like to sit here and discredit, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
Just, it's okay. It's okay. You'll be okay. You have millions of dollars as your consolation prize. You'll be okay.
It's tough though. By the way, I understand it. What's up? Go ahead.
I'll say, by the way, like you just with the Grammys, like at the end of the day, you got several different other awards that you can go after. Like it's awards are awards. You
think rappers are looking at the Soul Train Awards like they look at the Grammys?
Hey, listen.
You think rappers are acknowledging
like looking at the
BET Hip Hop Awards on the same level as the Grammys?
But let me tell you something. I agree. But let me tell you something.
They should, by the way.
Which one holds more merit? BET acknowledging that I have the best album, or the Grammys acknowledging that I have the best album? At the end of the day, the BET one is more legit in terms of BET tends to get it more right than the Grammys get it.
Yeah, so, but that's the problem though. The problem, I agree with that. It should be BET Awards and the people who actually can understand.
But we put things on a pedestal.
We put the Grammys haven't put on a pedestal.
You know why? Because it's been out for 100 years. That's the only reason.
There you
That's the
go.
only reason. It was one of the first award shows. Beethoven was winning awards, and so now they're just like, "Oh yeah, man, we gonna put this on a pedestal."
Beethoven was winning award shows.
Which, by the way, I've
Is that
never
even
won an
even
award for
true?
anything. I don't know. They
Yo,
had
that's the most
Golf or whatever.
yo, that's one of the most ill-advised shit I've ever heard. Beethoven won a Grammy.
Beethoven won a Grammy, best cinematic beat. I don't know.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. Listen, I'm a sucker for a good conspiracy theorist, a conspiracy theory. The one I heard recently that I say, all right, I think I need to reconsider my conspiracy theory love was when somebody said, yo, do you know Beethoven was black?
Oh my God.
No, I heard it.
I heard it. Me and Olivia were looking at it. And,
but is that
like,
true?
you know, he kind of got like curly hair a little bit.
Brother.
Beethoven, maybe not black, but maybe he like Habesha a little bit. Like, a little bit.
Yo, listen, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. Listen,
he ain't. You know, I don't know.
Yo, listen, listen, we need to know from y'all, man. Listen, let's end the Grammy talk with that with a question for y'all. Was Beethoven black? Hit the comments on YouTube.
Beethoven. Absolutely, he was black. He had a little bit of black in him, man. Did you see his hair?
Only a black man can conduct an orchestra like he did. It's just not possible.
Beethoven
it has to be a black man.
Hey man, you ain't know Beethoven when he lost the Grammy, he took a knee.